Welcome, everyone, to the Muskie Sports Network. I'm Tom Caudell, and today we are doing Coffee with Compliance. Joining us is Muskingum Compliance Coordinator, Andrew Price. Andrew, welcome to Coffee with Compliance.
Thanks for having me.
You know, Andrew, Coffee with Compliance presented by our good friends at Jennings Java. If you're looking for that fresh roast experience around, visit JenningsJava.com, a Muskie student athlete while his time on our campus. Great young man, him and AJ Kazmierzak running Jennings Java over in Columbus, JenningsJava.com for that fresh roast experience. Andrew, first of all, thank you for taking time out of your schedule today to talk with us. And this is going to give our student athletes, our fans, an opportunity to get to know you a little differently as we dive into the world of compliance. But we're going to start before compliance. Back when you were a young guy, where did you grow up at? Were you involved in sports? How'd the process start?
So I grew up in Richmond, Ohio, really small town down by the Steubenville area in eastern Ohio. And yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of stories like mine where you grow up, you're playing sports, you're heavily invested in sports, and then as you're growing up, you're going through classes, you're going through everything, and then once you start getting to the end of high school, you start being asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? Well, I was still such a sports nut, sports fanatic that I kind of just kept answering sports. I want to do sports. And I think once I got to Muskingum, that's when I started exploring what could I do in sports. So many kids will tell you I want to work in sports. Well, you got to know a little bit more than that. It can't just be sports. You have to then specialize. Do you want to be maybe in athletic communications? Do you want to be in sports information? And luckily meeting you, coincidentally, that is what kind of sparked it all for me and kind of guided me in the direction I wanted to go in, because again, I ended up going to Muskingum. I majored in marketing and athletic communication. And the late Gary Golden actually was big mentor of mine. Met him on my Muskie preview. And he was the one that actually said, you want to work in sports, Andrew? I see it. I got a guy you got to talk to. You got to go talk to Tom Caudell. He works in athletic communication. I think it'd be really good for you to kind of pick his brain a little bit. Then again, you and I met. Was still in kind of not knowing what I wanted to do, and then I got into commentary. And being a commentator for D3 sports is interesting, because you'd imagine these guys talking on TV. If you're watching a Fox Sports presentation, it's guys being fed information over and over. They're not real. It's kind of just their personality. Where D3 sports, I got a wake up call pretty early where you're combing stuff on the internet. You are trying to find any stat you can, trying to figure out any little thing you can about student athletes, and connecting through student athletes. Connecting with student athletes through commentary was another thing that just added to that love of sports. And eventually I found my way to athletic compliance, which we'll get there, I'm sure, in the conversation.
Well, you mentioned one of the greats, Gary Golden. I mean, a sad day, not just for our campus, but for many alum who have been through the quad here and through Cambridge Hall. Gary was a big advocate for all of our students on campus, and somebody I really appreciated working with, that really saw pathways into the sport industry. So that was a very sad day, but glad that the recommendation came to have you come across. I remember meeting you for the first time. Passionate young man who was driven, which was really great. And when you work in sports, somebody, the passion, I always talk about passion, and it's something you got to be passionate about. When you think back about your time here at Muskingum, as a student on our campus, what is there a favorite memory? Are there some moments that stick out as stuff that's just like, man, love that?
I know this is a kind of cheesy answer. I just loved the grind, man. I loved working with my coworkers. Now Jacob Reed and Taylor Brown are two of my best friends, and still working under you here in athletics communication. I just the everyday grind of hustling to games, prepping for games, seeing the opportunities to just add to a resume and add to my kind of story and portfolio was just so fun. I never took it for granted one time. I'm constantly looking back and appreciating everything I was able to do, all the opportunities I got. I mean, we were able to cover Muskingum's volleyball team going to the NCAA tournament. That was huge, going over to Grand Rapids, Michigan, being able to travel with everybody. Again, just so many great times. And it was all while we were working. It was never really that much of a burden to go to work, if that makes sense. And again, I'm so grateful for all the opportunities that I was able to get at Muskingum. And I would encourage anyone that has any interest in working in athletic communication or sports information to try to see what Muskingum could offer you.
Well, you always hear the cliche words that, when you love what you do, does it really work? And, when you work in sports, people love what they're doing. I mean, for you as a broadcaster, the impact that a broadcaster can have on events is tremendous. You add that energy. The thing that you always have had and still do is that natural excitement. Big shot, big tackle, big hit. It comes through in the voice. People know you're excited to be there. And you certainly elevated the Muskingum broadcast experience for our fans up some notches there, which also helped coincide with the launch of OAC TV, when suddenly the reach got more exponential as we navigated through that. Now, following graduation, and what we're hearing, the creative side, no doubt that when you were a student on campus, you were a driving force behind a lot of the creative routes and initiatives that we did in athletics and led those. But your career path led you a little differently here. You came back to Muskingum as a compliance coordinator. How did that shift happen to return to campus and wear a little bit of a different hat?
So I guess graduating when in the time of COVID, it's a time where you're constantly just reevaluating. And I got to the point where I'm getting towards the end of my time at Muskingum as an undergrad. I'm looking at options, and then you kind of just have that feeling of maybe staying at Muskingum is an option. Maybe I don't need to go venture away to some other job or some other field. And when a spot came open in the athletics department, the opportunity to work alongside my colleagues and my friends that I had through my undergrad years, I really couldn't pass it up. And it's just staying involved with athletics. Like you said, the passion for athletics is something that I've always had. And I'm just so, and still, I think that's the part of my job that I'm kind of figuring out still and enjoying, is just the everyday kind of unfolding of my job and figuring out more and more. There's just so many layers to it. And it's so interesting that every day is a new type of challenge and a new kind of piece to the puzzle that it's assembling.
Well, I mean, we'll get to it a little bit later, but compliance is such a vital component in any athletic department that the work is invaluable. I mean, what you do keeps student athletes eligible. You work with our coaches all the time. Let's take a step back. Who has influenced you the most when it comes to the way you approach your job and your work?
Again, I am so blessed to have a great support staff, from my family, really. I grew up with a great setup. I mean, I'm the typical small town, had a mom and dad that cared about me, would embrace anything I wanted to do. And I looked up to them, of course, my whole life. I get so much of my work ethic, so much of my passion from my parents. But I think, honestly, the biggest kind of advantage I had through life was having an older brother. And having an older brother that's only 5 years older than me. It's kind of like watching a snowplow drive through, and any type of challenge that Eric, my brother, faced, I was able to see and evaluate, well, if he had this type of maybe trouble with something, or he had to encounter this first, I was able to have an easier route because of that. And that's one thing that's never lost on me is just how, you know, I could be in such a bad situation sometimes, but because I have the foresight and ability of seeing what my brother has encountered through his life is just, it's so helpful to me and makes things so easy on me.
Well, family's vital. And I'll tell you, Andrew, one of the memories that still sticks in my head was you came to me and wanted to PA a basketball game. And we got a game set up for you. And then the day you did it, your mom and dad are in the stands. Just such a special moment for them to make that trip over to watch their son do something that he was so passionate about. And then I had the pleasure of meeting your brother Eric here just a couple of weeks back. Easy to see that good family upbringing and why you would look up to your brother for the way that he kind of said paved the path for you and hit some of those struggles that you wouldn't have to hit as you were growing up. How do you prefer to start your day?
Oh, man. So my day starts. So I currently live in New Concord. We get really to the start of my day. I am usually being nudged or rolled up against by a small Pomeranian, my dog Bailey, that I share a bed with. This dog, that is my start to my day, is getting either a tap or a nudge to it's time to go out. So we start my day literally at whatever time Bailey wants to wake up. We start it, and from the word go, it is then getting ready. Typical, just getting ready, showering, brush your teeth, eat breakfast, and then you're all dressed up, ready to go, get to work. Honestly, one of my favorite parts of the day is walking by our athletic administration kind of hallway, and our administrative assistants, Casey Kinnan and Nikki Wolf, they greet me every morning as I walk in. And again, it's such a small thing, but having those faces there every morning to greet you and being such great, nice people, it's so fun. And that to me is like the perfect start to my day, is when I get to pass by them at their office or their kind of space and then make my way down to my office. It's nice.
Well, I mean, Nikki and Casey, too, the best. I mean,
yes.
Everyone loves them. They do such a tremendous job, not just for the athletic department, but for the student athletes and university as a whole. Okay, so now you're at work. What energizes you throughout the day?
So I pride myself on just wanting to do a great job. I want every day to provide some type of value to Muskingum and show that I kind of belong here, because we have high standards here. It's not just a thing where you show up and you think, I'll take the day off, or I'll mail this one in. Maybe I'll figure something out by the end of the week and get something done. I think it ties back to the values that my parents taught me. If you want to put in a good day's work, you don't want to be kind of complacent with where you stand. And that's what energizes me. I'm constantly checking on new things I can learn. Like you said, I come from a creative background. I wasn't necessarily thinking my entire life I'm going to be a compliance coordinator at the Division III level. So I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly asking questions. And on the asking questions front, I cannot commend our new athletic director, Carrie Winters, enough. Carrie, of course, was the compliance coordinator, or I guess director of compliance, technically was the title, before I got here. And I joined in a transitional period for Muskingum. I mean, Steve Brocklebank had recently moved on to a new job. Carrie was the interim. And that's again, I can't imagine. I myself am trying to get this compliance coordinator job under me. Carrie is then transitioning into the interim AD, and Carrie still found time to kind of let me kind of tag along. She was constantly giving me direction and help throughout the entire process of getting settled in, and to this day still just helping me out, doing everything she can to make sure I'm comfortable at my job and giving me any pointers she has. Also, another shout out to OAC Commissioner Sarah Odie, who gets more than enough emails from me to last her a lifetime. So I cannot state how appreciative I am of everybody that I constantly ask for questions and guidance from, and they answer me without hesitation.
Andrew, at the end of the day, what is it outside of work that gives you some energy?
Oh my gosh, I am such a sports fan. It's almost like insane to think of the amount of sports that I watch in my life. I'm a Blue Jackets fan. Hockey is definitely my favorite sport. I've recently picked up Formula One racing as a sport that I am incredibly interested in, namely Mercedes-Benz and Lewis Hamilton. I love Lewis Hamilton. But then, you venture into the football side of things. I'm a huge Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan and Tom Brady fan. So I don't know. I'm such a sports fan, and I think that comes from a childhood of bonding with my brother over sports and spending so many hours on the couch in the living room or and watching, whether it's a soccer game, a hockey game, football, baseball, basketball, or playing the video games with my brother, which I still do today. It's just, again, sports kind of just encapsulates my whole life, and I would not choose it any other way.
Well, I'll tell you, like people who know you here on campus, definitely know about the F1, a Tampa Bay nut pretty much for all Tampa Bay sports. The one I thought you were going to say was WWE, was something that we talk about quite often, the WWE. But it's just fun. Like you said, outside, still staying involved with sports, going over to see some Blue Jackets games. I've heard more people talk about F1 in our athletic department in the last 6 months than I have in the last 20 years. So it's spreading, as you're passionate about something, it spreads to other people. And now we've got some F1 fans in the house. Still working on building the WWE database up a little foundation, a little stronger, but it'll get there.
Yeah, it will. It will.
What's something in your time work related that you're proud of?
Yeah, just in my short time here, like I said, just constantly learning every day. I love the small victories. I've learned to really just, while I'm learning the ins and outs of being a compliance coordinator, just enjoying the times where I'm asked a question and, I've seen that rule before. I know exactly what you're talking about. This is your answer. Now, that's not the case every time. I'm not going to pretend like I know everything. I certainly don't. There are plenty of times where I'll get asked a question and I'll say, I'll get back to you. And I love telling people that I love making a point that when I say I'll get back to you, it's not a brushing your question aside. It is literally from the moment you ask me that question, it's put right in my head, and I am making a beeline back to my office to go look up the answer for you and figure it out right away. But again, I enjoy when I have the answers to things. I also would say my favorite thing that I've worked on is because the work it's taken to get to this point. The NCAA recently instituted a new policy about sexual violence, and it's for this upcoming academic year. Our Title IX coordinator, Holly Gleason, great coworker, great mentor, has helped me so much when it comes to learning about policy writing. And it completely opened up a brand new door to me to how much goes into writing a policy and figuring out how you're going to deliver information to people and deliver forms / get information and analyze data and what it looks like assigning rules to people. It's these things that you don't even think about if you're a student athlete or coach. You just think of like, more paperwork. But there's so much that goes on in the back end that it takes. And again, Holly has been so great to me for showing me the ropes and helping me along in the process.
Well, I would say, Andrew, what I would characterize you as an undergrad when you worked through the office here was if you didn't know something, if we were talking about something in design or video, man, you found the answer. Like if you didn't know how to do something, you took it upon yourself to find how to do it. You self-taught yourself a lot of the things that you're very talented at when it comes to creative, designs and Photoshop, Illustrator, all those things. And compliance sounds like it fits right in the same thing. Don't know the answer, but I'm going to find the answer and go out and grind away at it. What's one thing most people don't know about you?
One thing most people don't know about me. I'm such a vocal person that there's probably not a ton of things. I would say if you never met me, you probably wouldn't imagine that my end goal in life is to live in Tampa, Florida. I would just say that. Now, judging by all the sports teams I like, you then quickly realize, he must like Tampa for some reason. But for me, it's just my connection with my brother. I just have such a want to, at some point, be able to live near my brother and share more memories with my brother, because, again, as soon as my brother graduated from Ohio State, I was a senior in high school. He's graduating and immediately moves down to Florida. And that's my best friend that I had lived with my entire life and been in the same state with my entire life. He was gone, and then I had to kind of adapt. Now we play video games pretty much from the hour I am done, and from the time my office door shuts at Muskingum, I am either on a phone call, a video call, or a video game with my brother from Florida. And I, again, wouldn't have it any other way except for possibly living beside him. If I could airlift Muskingum to Tampa, Florida, and drop it right down next to him, I would. But that is to me kind of something that maybe people wouldn't know, but I think I talk about it enough that they probably know about.
And let's not forget to throw out there that you were a goalkeeper in high school for soccer.
That's okay. So I guess when you bring that up, being 5'7" and pretty unathletic of a person, yes, that would be something that if people saw me today, huffing and puffing as I'm walking up the stairs to different places at Muskingum University, they probably wouldn't imagine that I at one time was athletic and did play a high school sport. But yeah, that's staying involved with sports to me was a way to not lose it. You know what I mean? I know so many people that look back on the glory days and back when I was a high school quarterback, or when I was scoring all the goals in soccer. And those people are now working desk jobs and they have all the pictures of the good old days. For me, staying involved with sports helped kind of remedy that. And I never lost that kind of passion. And because I couldn't lose that passion, I think that's what makes me still so involved with sports.
It's awesome. What's something you saw recently that made you smile?
Recently that made me smile. So we're going to tie this back to Formula One and Lewis Hamilton. I really do love when athletes are all about giving back and being humble and taking a stand for things. And again, just those like heartfelt moments that you see, the Make-A-Wish things, I'm a huge John Cena fan. Like we talked about wrestling, John Cena with the most Make-A-Wishes ever. I mean, how can you not watch those videos and smile? But again, like Lewis Hamilton has been heavily criticized by, I think, media and fans at times for taking stands on things. But I really do appreciate when an athlete is the good guy and the guy you want to root for, and it stands up for things when it's difficult to, or other people don't want to stand up for them. So I like athletes like that. I commend athletes that do that and people that are celebrities that do that. And Lewis Hamilton to me is like the epitome of standing up for what's right. And again, it's a situation where somebody like Lewis Hamilton, if you're unfamiliar with motor racing or Formula One, he's basically the Tom Brady of Formula One. He's tied for the most championships ever. He's accomplished pretty much anything you would need to. And he still finds the time to, whether it's standing up for Pride Month or standing up in other countries when things are controversial. He is that guy, and that makes me smile every time. It makes me it reinforces my fandom for a person like that.
That's awesome. I mean, I like hearing that. I like seeing when athletes take stands for great causes and stand up. When you're a kid, obviously, you're kids, what are you thinking you want to be when you grow up? I mean, I doubt compliance coordinator when you're sitting in elementary school is what you're writing on the sheet of paper. Where did you think you would be?
So I'll be honest with you. I always want to be involved in sports. If I could go back, if I could talk to any teachers that remembered me. I remember my art teacher when I was in elementary school was a big Pittsburgh Penguins fan. I grew up in Pittsburgh Penguin country, basically over in Eastern Ohio. They loved their Pittsburgh Penguins. I loved, as a young kid, the Washington Capitals and Alexander Ovechkin, the arch rival of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And it was just the way he played, the way he put on a show. I still to this day think he's such a great showman and such a fun player to watch. But as a kid, I'm liking the Rebel team amongst every other Pittsburgh fan. And, constantly making art projects as a kid that are Alex Ovechkin and all this stuff. And my art teacher would constantly make jokes with me, and we'd make artwork that's the Penguins taking on the Capitals and stuff like that. So I could have seen myself being like an artist from a very young age. But I mean, towards the end and just noticing commentators, I really could have said to you that I was going to be a commentator. I have so much passion for commentary. I turn on games at times and I know the commentary and who's commentating a game more than I know the teams that are playing. I mean, really, I pick out favorite commentators like some people to pick out their favorite team in sports. It's kind of crazy to be that much in detail about it. But yeah, I would say something in sports commentary or sports design / graphic design would have been what I would answer.
Well, you pretty much hit that right home. I mean, that creative bug, you always got that scratch, you got an itch when it comes to creative side. You mentioned a couple of them, some good friends you have, Taylor and Jacob. If I'm sitting with, let's just say Taylor and Jacob, some of your other good friends as well, what 3 words would your good friends use to describe you?
I would like to think hardworking would be one. Again, we've gone into battle, so to say, so many times together. And whether it's filming an interview, whether it's, getting things ready for a game, whether it's, getting an awards show ready and prepping the day of when something goes haywire and we're all scrambling or whatever, we all step up. And I think not only I am hardworking, I think this just entire athletic communication department is hardworking, but so many people on this Muskingum University campus that work in athletics they would give anything for the student athletes here. And just, I think hardworking is one. What else? I think critical, but not in a bad way. I am such a stickler on graphic design that I can't sit through a football game with Jacob or sit through a WWE pay-per-view with Taylor without picking out a graphic design little style or something they did that I either liked or think I could change or have a different opinion of. And again, it's all fun. I love graphic design, and again, just being a stickler and being so into it, I think is fun all the time. So let's see, hardworking, critical. A third one, passionate. We'll go with passionate. Again, if you've ever seen me in front of a TV during a Blue Jackets game, you would realize why I say I'm a passionate fan. I play armchair GM all summer, texting my brother different roster moves and different ways that they could maybe change their salary cap around to fit in this player that you would hope wants to come in. It's bizarre to put it nicely how crazy I am about the Blue Jackets and how crazy I am about sports, but I am so passionate about sports and being a sports fan that I cannot imagine life without it.
Well, I mean, 3 great words there for friends to look at you, and I think you hit it home on all 3: the hardworking, critical, and passionate. Andrew, if you could have one superpower, what would your superpower be?
I think I'd want to control time. I really do. I think it'd be cool to, I love being able to go back and relive something for the first time, whether it's, the first time you go to a game or the first time you you see something happen. I think that would be something really cool. And, there's also, when you ever have a little bit of regret about something, if you think like, oh, I didn't get to see this happen. I was asleep for this. I did that. I think it'd be cool to be able to go back and change that. So kind of a weird one, but.
Well, it kind of sounds like you're an Avenger now, and we need the Infinity Stones, right?
Yeah. Give me the gauntlet. Give me just the one stone, though. I don't need them all. You can keep the rest. Just give me the one.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What if you could only have one meal for the rest of life?
There is not even a question. Pizza. I am a huge fan of pizza, but I'm also, and this has become like a running joke throughout this athletic department. I see you smiling already. McDonald's McDoubles. We got to find a way to get me sponsored or something. I'm a big fan of McDonald's. I wouldn't say that I have the healthiest diet of anybody around, but my goodness, love McDonald's, but universally pizza. I am a pizza fanatic, have been since I was a kid, and I don't think it's ever going to change. I think I will take that to the end of time when I'm just a big pizza fan.
Well, we can throw in another highlight here. If you're fans of pizza and you're here in New Concord, Wally's, a great partner here of the Muskingum Athletic Department. Matt down there at Wally's, if you're looking for a nice slice of pie, Wally's Pizza right here in New Concord, we can certainly deliver that to you. If you could only have 3 apps on your phone, what are your 3 apps?
Ooh. So I'll just out myself now. I'm an Android user. I know it's not the most popular thing around here, but I'm an Android user. Big music guy. Love Spotify. So I'd have to take that. I really like Twitter. So I would have to use that. And then I guess if messages counts, so texting, your default texting app, just because I love talking to people. And again, I am constantly in conversation with my brother, and could not imagine. It's odd because once my brother went on a cruise recently for his honeymoon, and I found myself kind of lost at times, like your best friend was gone, because I would sit there when I'd usually be sitting and texting my brother on my couch, I'm just sitting there staring at my Pomeranian, just like, what do we do now? So kind of just the ability to talk to my brother, I think I can't live without. So I would take Spotify, Twitter, and messages.
There you go. All right, Andrew, let's kind of bring it back to some current time here now. Take us through a day in the life of a compliance coordinator. I know that every day is different, but what's your typical day kind of look like?
So, like you said, every day is different, and with that comes some days of being incredibly busy, just like every job. Some days you're incredibly busy. Some days you're kind of, it's a slow day. You're kind of find yourself looking at the clock quite a bit. But I would say my average day would be when team compliance is getting ready to kick up. And that typically happens when we get our teams to come back to campus. It's usually, a week or so from the time they touch foot on campus that we like to get them in a room, in a computer lab. I like to give my presentation, my spiel. They have to listen to me gab about a bunch of NCAA rules, explain to them the forms that they're figuring into and signing off on and everything like that. But it all starts with getting to work, checking any type of emails. Again, can't start a day without seeing Nikki and Casey when I walk in. But yeah, I would say after touching base my office, then I usually have my meetings, whether that be with Carrie, whether that be with the registrar's office, meeting with Heather Pritchard over there, another great help, and cannot be understated how much she's helped me in my time here. But yeah, just constantly pedaling around in meetings. And I do have an office, but what's funny is I could pretty much go without having an office at times because I'm so much just buzzing around campus and going to other places. I am a very much face-to-face type person where if it's possible, I like meeting with people face-to-face. So I know things with COVID kind of got mixed around with that. You can't do it as much. but hoping here that every meeting we have is face-to-face, and eventually we're getting back to kind of sitting down face-to-face with everybody. But yeah, after I would say all of my meetings are done for the day, I usually do a one last check, sending out any type of transfer tracers or emails to other compliance offices throughout the nation, really. And after that's all done and sewed up, then we're back home, going home to let out Bailey. That's that's my day.
Well, it can't be stated, the importance of compliance. We're talking about the eligibility of student athletes. When you're talking about transfers or even students on our campus, that all flows right through your office there. So such an important part of any athletic department, especially here at Muskingum. Now, one of the new topics, here in the last really couple years has really kind of, I would say, changed some of the scope of compliance, name, image, and likeness, and then the transfer portal. How have those two impacted your position?
Well, you're certainly not wrong. It's definitely impacted compliance just in general a lot, especially NIL. So when I got to Muskingum, we had really just been kind of digging into what we want as an NIL policy. And setting things up again with Holly Gleason, we have a system in place here at Muskingum where there's an online form for student athletes to fill out if they pursue name, image, and likeness deal. And again, that's one way that they could maybe generate some revenue for themselves. Again, it doesn't hurt to put some money in pockets of a college athlete, but I would say for name, image, and likeness, certainly it has impacted my job in terms of it's one thing I'm constantly checking. I'm constantly looking at other universities and what they're doing. How it's affecting D3 is different than, I would say, other conferences. You're looking at ESPN and you're seeing that at the Division I level, it's almost like a bidding war at times of who's going to be able to net the biggest deal for said athlete, or where's the hot spot at the moment for a quarterback to go that he can get that big deal to sign. Again, you have some of these college athletes that are making more than some pro athletes even. So it's certainly, times have changed for name, image, and likeness. And I've gone down this rabbit hole so much with name, image, and likeness that I forget what your other transfer portal.
Transfer portal.
Transfer portal. So the transfer portal is also huge because, again, what's interesting is it's been a learning curve for me just figuring out what the approach is for the transfer portal. Because, again, it has certainly made things easier for student athletes to transfer. It's made it easier for them to get out of a situation that's bad for them and get them into a better situation. But with that also comes, to play devil's advocate, the other side of, is it easier for them to kind of just hop around? And that's one thing I believe that, that will come with the territory. I think it's hard to ever judge if something's extremely good or extremely bad, but it's certainly different. And I think overall the transfer portal has been really positive because, again, it's a really easy way to share information. I know some coaches, if you benefited from the transfer portal, you probably love it, probably endorse it, 5-star rating, sign us up. If you're a coach that has lost a lot of people to the transfer portal, you're probably saying, if only that darn internet didn't exist. Like, I really appreciate that the transfer portal exists, though, because, again, it makes my life a lot easier, makes life for a transferring student athlete a lot easier, and overall, I think it's had a really positive impact.
Andrew, you talked about the impact it's had probably on some student athletes. What is the best way for student athletes, here on our campus to get a hold of you if they have questions about whether it's, NIL, if it's transfer, anything compliance related? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Sure. So like I said, I am out of my office so much, whether it's meeting with coaches, meeting with administration, you name it. Probably email. You can always, if you're a student athlete, you have any questions about anything, whether it's the transfer portal or anything with Title IX, any any rules or regulation that you're on the fringe of or you don't know about, do not hesitate to email me agprice@muskingum.edu. I'm always available to answer emails, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. But please, that's one thing. Communication is so key. I'm very much a measure twice, cut once type person. So, and what's nice for me is we also have a lot of coaches that are like that here, where, especially as a department, we like to, even if it takes an extra second to pause and evaluate, it's very much a, let's see how things are supposed to go, and then we act on things. And that's, if you ever, as a student athlete, speaking to you all out there now, if you ever have a question about something that you don't know if it's legal or not, please do not hesitate to let me know, and we'll talk it out and get it sorted out for you.
Hey, as we say, compliance never sleeps.
Never. Absolutely.
24/7, compliance never sleeps. Well, Andrew, I want to thank you for taking time today to join us on Coffee with Compliance, presented by our good friends at Jennings Java. If you're looking for that fresh roast experience, JenningsJava.com is the place to go.